Let's be real. If you've tried to buy a home recently, you know it feels kind of hopeless. The prices are just insane. There's nothing out there, and the whole idea of owning a home can feel like a pipe dream. But in what might be the surprise of the year, the US Senate just passed a huge bill to try and fix exactly that. So let's get into what this plan is all about.
It really is the question on everyone's mind, isn't it? The whole housing market is this giant, tangled knot. But what's so wild about this story is that the answer might be coming from a place you would, well, never expect.
And that answer is a bill. A really, really big one. We're talking 303 pages of legislation that is trying to completely rewrite some of the fundamental rules of the housing game. And it just cleared its first major hurdle. Okay, so what's actually in this thing? Well, a lot of it is stuff you might expect. Grants for more affordable housing, cutting some red tape to make it easier to build. But that's not the real story here. The thing that has everyone talking isn't what's in the bill, it's who's behind it. It's officially called the 21st Century Road to Housing Act. But forget the fancy name for a second and just look at the sponsors. On one side, you have Republican Senator Tim Scott, and on the other, Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren. I mean, come on, when was the last time you saw those two names on the same bill? That alone tells you just how massive this housing crisis has become. And it's not just them. Look at this vote. It passed the Senate 89-10. 89! In this day and age, getting that many senators to agree on anything is, well, it's pretty much unheard of. But, and this is a big but, that unity has a breaking point. And that breaking point has a name, the investor ban. This is the one piece of the puzzle that's causing all the fireworks. It's the single most controversial idea in what is otherwise a bill that pretty much everybody agrees on. So how did this idea even get in there? Turns out it wasn't part of the original plan at all. Word is, it was added to the bill after former President Trump made it pretty clear that he wouldn't sign any housing bill unless it cracked down on big corporate investors. So what does this ban actually do? It's actually pretty simple. If you're a big company or an institutional investor and you already own 350 single-family homes, you're cut off. You can't buy any more. Simple as that. Well, almost. There's a little twist for the people who actually, build the houses. Homebuilders, they get a special exception. They are allowed to build and own more than that 350 home limit. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. They can't just sit on those properties and rent them out forever. Nope. They have to sell every single new property within 7 years. And that 7-year clock, that's what's causing this huge fight. And boom, that's where we get the two sides of this whole debate. On one side, you've got people saying, yes, finally, a way to level the playing field for regular families. But on the other side, you've got critics saying, whoa, hold on. This is the government going way too far, and it's actually going to make the housing shortage even worse. So let's hear from the pro side first. Senator Warren, one of the bill's authors, puts it like this. The whole idea here is to stop families from having to compete with massive piles of Wall Street cash. It's about sending a message, right, that homes are for living in, not just another asset for some hedge fund's portfolio. But then you get the pushback, and it is strong. Take Democratic Senator Brian Schatz. He thinks this is a terrible idea. His argument is, why would a builder even bother starting a project if they know the government is forcing them to sell in just 7 years? They might not even break even by then, so they'll just stop building. And that, of course, would make the housing crisis a whole lot worse. And you can see the lines being drawn in the sand. You've got the National Association of Realtors saying, we're for this, it'll help our buyers. But then the folks who actually build the homes, like the National Association of Homebuilders, they are firmly against it, right there with critics like Senator Schatz. Okay, so the Senate passed it. Big deal. But that's not the end of the road. Not even close. Now the bill has to go over to the House of Representatives. And let's just say they are not exactly rolling out the welcome mat. This quote from House Majority Leader Steve Scalise pretty much says it all. He's basically saying, yeah, no, we're not just going to rubber stamp this. When he says they're going to go to conference, that's political speak for get ready for a fight. It means the House and Senate are going to have to hash out a final version, and you can bet that investor ban will be the #1 thing they argue about. Which brings us right back to the ultimate question, doesn't it? One side sees this as a historic chance to put families ahead of Wall Street. The other sees a policy that could choke off new construction just when we need it most. For anyone out there trying to buy a home, the outcome of this debate could mean everything.